The first insult, the chamber of the Galactic Council, was filled with light and sound. Alien voices echoed in hundreds of tongues, each delegate speaking with pride, power, and arrogance. At the center, in a small circle of light, stood the human representative, Ambassador Marcus Heil. He was calm, his black uniform pressed, his voice steady, his eyes scanning the vast hall. The council had gathered to discuss a recent border conflict between two alien empires, but somehow the topic had shifted to humans. They were still the newcomers, the younger race, the so-called children of the stars. Every empire in the chamber looked at them with either pity, contempt, or curiosity. Humans sneered a tall reptilian envoy, scales shimmering under the light. "You speak as if you understand the nature of war, yet your kind has barely survived a century among us." The chamber laughed, clicking, hissing, and buzzing in mocking tones. Marcus did not flinch. His face was carved from stone. He spoke quietly, but his voice carried across the chamber. "War is simple," he said. "There are only two rules, and if you break them, you will not survive." His words caused silence for a brief moment. Then another wave of laughter rolled across the alien seats. "Two rules?" A feathered delegate cried, her wings fluttering with amusement. "Do you expect us to believe that your tiny species has mastered war with something so childish?" Marcus did not argue. He did not raise his voice. He simply repeated, "Two rules. Always two rules." He turned to leave, his time at the podium finished, but before he stepped down, his words echoed once more. "They are not rules for us. They are rules for you." The insult landed hard in the ears of the council. It was not the humans who were mocked now. It was the empires themselves. For to suggest that their mighty fleets, their centuries of war, their billions of soldiers could be destroyed by such a simple warning was an open challenge. The chamber burned with pride, and pride always demanded blood. That night, in the halls of the Zorath Empire, the insult was repeated again and again. The Zorath were proud warriors, their empire spanning hundreds of worlds, their fleets unmatched in size. Their emperor roared with fury at the idea that a human dared to speak of war as if they understood it better, and so he declared, "We shall teach the humans what real war means." Orders were given, fleets prepared, soldiers armed. The Zorath called it a demonstration, not a war. They would strike Earth's outer colonies, burn a few cities, and force humanity to kneel before the council. The other empires whispered, some nervous, some eager to see the two rules broken and proven false. The galaxy always loved a spectacle. Meanwhile, on Earth, Marcus Hall returned home. He looked out over the oceans from the council tower in Geneva. Behind him stood Admiral Reyes, commander of the Earth Defense Fleet. "They will come," Marcus said quietly. Reyes nodded, her face calm. "Then we will be ready." In the silent void beyond the stars, human fleets began to vanish. Not destroyed, not broken, but hidden. Entire armadas disappeared into deep space. Their signals cut, their locations erased. The colonies went about their lives, unaware that shadows already moved in the dark. Back in the Zorath Empire, their fleets moved quickly. 10,000 ships burned across the void. Banners raised, weapons charged. They expected resistance, but only light resistance. After all, humanity was small, untested, and mocked by all. But the humans remembered the insult. They remembered the laughter, and most of all, they remembered the two rules, for humanity had never broken them, and they never would. As the Zorath fleets closed in on the first human colony, sensors searched for defense ships. They found none. The skies above. The colony were silent. The Zorath laughed. Believing the humans had already fled, they opened fire, their beams of light tearing through empty skies. But what they did not know was this silence was never safety when dealing with humans. Somewhere in the darkness, a voice crackled over. Human comes. Rule 1, the Admiral whispered. Never start a war unless you are ready to end it. The trap was already set. The Zorath just did not know it yet. And across the stars, the first insult had lit the fire that would change the galaxy forever. Asterisk, the first rule, the Zorath fleet, stretched across the stars like a wall of fire. Thousands of warships moved in formation, their weapons humming, their commanders laughing at the thought of crushing a small human colony. The colony itself lay below, a green-blue world called New Carthage, its oceans calm, its cities glowing like sparks in the night. Children played in the streets, markets buzzed with life, and no one knew death was minutes away. High above the atmosphere, Zorath commanders gave the order. Fire, they roared, and beams of plasma. Lanced downward, the first strike hit the ocean, oiling it into steam. The second tore apart a city's power grid, sending towers crashing down. The Zorath laughed, their emperor watching from his throne through a live holostream. But in the chaos, something strange happened. The humans did not scream through the comes. They did not beg for mercy. There was only silence, a silence that felt heavy, as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. Admiral Reyes sat in the dark bridge of the human flagship, the Resolute. Her crew waited, motionless. As the colony below burned, every officer's eyes were fixed on her, waiting for the order. Reyes finally spoke, her voice quiet but unshakable. Now, she said. The void split open. From the blackness of deep space, dozens of human ships appeared, their stealth fields fading like shadows stepping into the light. The Zorath never saw them coming. The first wave of torpedoes ripped through their command ships before alarms could even sound. Explosions tore across the fleet, fire blooming against the void. The Zorath screamed in confusion. How did they get here? How did we not see them? But their questions went unanswered, because more human ships appeared, hundreds now, emerging from the dark, silent and merciless. The colony below erupted with cheers as human defense ships rose from hidden bunkers, launching missiles into the sky. The battle was one-sided. Zorath ships fired wildly, trying to regroup. But every shot missed its mark. The humans moved with precision, coordinated like a single mind. Every strike was final, every target chosen carefully. For humanity followed the first rule with iron discipline. Rule 1. Never start a war unless you are ready to end it. The Zorath had started this war with pride, but humanity was here to end it. One Zorath commander tried to rally his forces, his ship's hull cracking under fire. Fight back! They are only humans. He shouted, but his words fell empty as his ship split in two, burning in silence. The human fleets did not gloat, did not taunt. They only advanced, quiet and unstoppable, on the Resolute. Admiral Reyes leaned forward, her eyes narrowed as reports came in. 500 enemy ships destroyed, 200 more crippled. Push them back, she ordered. No survivors near the colony. The humans did not celebrate victory. For them, it was not about glory, it was about survival. And survival meant war had to end swiftly. The Zorath Emperor, watching from his throne, rose in fury. He smashed, his clawed hand against the armrest, his face burning with shame. This cannot be. He roared, "We are the masters of war. Crush them. Send more fleets." But deep inside, even he began to feel a whisper of fear. Fear that the humans' two rules were not a bluff, but a death sentence for his empire. As the battle ended, the human colony still stood, scarred but alive. People looked up at the sky, watching human ships fly in formation like steel guardians. Children pointed, their eyes wide with pride. For the first time, the galaxy had seen what it meant when humans followed their rules. Later, in a quiet chamber aboard the Resolute, Marcus Halle appeared by Hala to Admiral Reyes. "They struck first," he said calmly. "Now they know our answer." Reyes nodded, her eyes cold. "And now the galaxy knows Rule 1. She turned her gaze to the stars. War with humans does not end the way others expect. Across the council worlds, alien leaders argued in panic. Some demanded peace talks immediately. Others whispered of destroying humanity before it grew stronger. But all of them, even those who laughed the loudest before, now remembered the silence, the shadows, and the sudden fire. The laughter had died. Replaced with unease, the rules were real, and the galaxy was just beginning to understand what they meant. Far from the battle, in secret listening stations and distant colonies, alien civilians whispered the words to one another. 2 rules, always 2 rules, and humanity never breaks them. Asterisk. The silent shadow of the galaxy was not silent. It was filled with rumors, whispers, and fear. Every council chamber echoed with the same words. The humans fought back, and they did not stop. But no one truly understood what had happened at New Carthage. Some said the humans had hidden fleets inside the stars themselves. Others swore they used forbidden weapons stolen from ancient empires. But all agreed on one thing. The humans were no longer to be laughed at. The Zorith Empire, wounded and humiliated, tried to hide their losses. They claimed the battle was a minor skirmish, nothing more. But messages leaked. Soldiers talked, and frightened civilians spread the truth faster than fire. Whole fleets were gone, reduced to drifting wrecks. Commanders who once boasted of glory now vanished from the stars. Families waited for soldiers who never returned. The Empire's pride cracked like glass under weight. And then the disappearances began. Small patrols went missing first. 2 ships lost in a quiet system. No distress call, no debris, just silence. Then convoys, carrying weapons and supplies to the front, vanished without trace. Their signals cut off mid-transmission. Only fragments of static remained. In council chambers, alien leaders demanded answers. "Where are these fleets going?" one shouted. "Are the humans destroying them?" Another whispered. The Zorith denied everything, but fear grew stronger. For the pattern was clear. Whenever the Zorith sent ships to strike at humanity, those ships never returned. On Earth, Admiral Reyes studied the reports, her eyes sharp, her tone calm. "We are the shadow," she told her officers. "They think they are hunting us, but in truth, we are already behind them." Her fleets moved in silence, wrapped in stealth technology. Not even the Council's best sensors could detect them. Human ships drifted like ghosts through the void. Every time the Zorith prepared a new assault, the humans struck first, and always without warning. One Zorith commander sat alone in his warship, his claws tapping against the console, his eyes scanning the black void. He whispered to himself, "They are here. I can feel them." But the scanner showed nothing. Only stars, only darkness. Still, he could not shake the weight pressing against his chest. And then the silence ended. A flash, a strike. His ship split in 2 before he even gave the order to fire. The survivors told stories that spread like wildfire. They spoke of human ships appearing out of nowhere. No light, no sound, just sudden death. They called them the Silent Shadow. And the name spread across the galaxy. Children whispered it in fear. Commanders cursed it. Rulers denied it. But everyone knew it was real. Back at the council, the arguments grew louder. Some races pleaded, "We must make peace with Earth before it is too late." Others shouted, "No! Crush them now, before the shadow grows stronger." The chamber trembled with rage and fear. And in the middle, Ambassador Marcus Halle stood once more. He spoke only a few words. "You laughed when I spoke of rules," he said. "Now you understand the first. The second will come soon enough." The silence that followed was heavy. Delegates shifted nervously, wings folding, claws tapping, eyes glowing with unease, for they realized he was not bluffing. Every disappearance, every shattered fleet, every silent death, it was proof. Proof that humans were not fighting for territory. Not for pride, they were fighting to end the war, and once humans committed to war, they never stopped halfway. In the Zoroth Palace, the Emperor sat in his throne. His generals knelt before him. Their heads low, one whispered, "We cannot find them, my Emperor. They strike and vanish like smoke. We cannot even see them." The Emperor slammed his fist down, shattering the armrest. "Find them," he roared, "or we are already dead." But even as he spoke, a signal reached Earth. Human spies had uncovered a secret weapon deep inside the Zoroth core worlds. Something powerful, something dangerous. Admiral Reyes looked at the data, her face expressionless. "It begins," she whispered. "The second rule, and across the stars." The silent shadow moved again. The galaxy held its breath. For everyone knew when the humans struck next, the war would never be the will. Same. Asterisk, the second rule, the galaxy now lived in fear of shadows. Every fleet that left the Zoroth docks did so with dread. Every commander wondered if they would ever return. And every whisper carried the same truth: humans never fought halfway. But the council still debated. Some empires demanded peace talks, desperate to avoid the silent death. Others cried for a united strike, believing numbers could overwhelm humanity. Their voices clashed like thunder in the great chamber. And still, Ambassador Marcus Howell stood silent. He listened, his hands behind his back, his eyes cold and patient. When the noise finally fell, quiet, he spoke only 4 words. Then here the second. The hall fell silent. Every delegate leaned closer. The humans had shown the first rule, and the galaxy had paid the price. But what could be worse than shadows in the dark? Marcus spoke calmly, his words striking deeper than weapons. "If war comes, fight to win, nothing less." The words echoed through the chamber. Some laughed nervously, others hissed in disbelief. But deep inside, many felt the chill of truth. For they had seen what happened when humans decided to win, and they feared what would happen next. Far away, in the void of the Zoroth core worlds, the Emperor prepared his ultimate weapon. Buried beneath his throne world was a superweapon forged from centuries of blood and science. A world cracker, capable of ripping entire planets into ash. He believed it would end the human threat in one strike. His generals bowed low, their voices shaking. "My Emperor, if we use this, the galaxy will turn against us." The Emperor snarled, his eyes burning. Better their anger than extinction. But humanity already knew. The silent shadow had found the weapon before it was even complete. Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her voice low, her orders sharp. "We strike tonight," she said, "and we end this war before the weapon ever sees the stars." Her officers nodded, their faces hard with resolve. They knew the cost, but they also knew the rule. To fight was to win, not to survive halfway. Not to retreat, but to end. The fleets moved in silence once more. Hundreds of human warships glided through the black void, their engines muted, their signals erased. Even the stars seemed to hide their presence, until, without warning, they fell upon the Zoroth stronghold. The battle was fire and fury. Zoroth defenses roared awake, their cannons spitting light, but the humans did not hesitate. Every strike hit its mark. Every weapon fired with finality. The Zoroth screamed, their fleets shattering under the precision of human fire. No second chances, no mercy, no delay, for humanity fought to win deep in the palace. The Emperor watched the skies burn, his weapons still incomplete, his fleets falling apart. He slammed his claws into the throne, roaring in rage and terror. "They cannot do this. They cannot defeat us here." But already, the humans were inside the atmosphere. Drop fleets tore through the skies, cutting straight for the weapon's core. On the ground, soldiers of Earth moved like a storm. They advanced without pause, cutting through defenses with precision. Every unit worked as one. Every step pushed closer to the weapon, and still, the rule echoed in their hearts. Fight to win, nothing less. The Emperor finally stood on the battlefield himself. His armored form towering over his soldiers, he roared. His blade raised, "Face me, humans. Show me your so-called rule." And he was answered, not by words, but by fire. The humans unleashed their weapons. The Emperor's blade shattered. His armor cracked. His empire's pride burned to ash. The weapon was destroyed before it ever fired. The Zorath capital stood. In flames, its towers collapsing, its fleets nothing but wreckage in orbit. And still, the humans did not celebrate. There was no cheer, no glory, no song of triumph. Only silence and the cold truth of war. On the Resolute, Admiral Reyes looked. To Marcus Hale's image. "It is done," she said. Marcus nodded, his face as cold as stone. "Then they have learned the second." And across the galaxy, word spread like fire through dry grass. If humanity fought, it was never for half victories, never for scraps. It was always to win, and to win meant the enemy would not rise again. The galaxy now trembled, for the second rule had been revealed, and every empire wondered, in fear, what would happen if humanity ever chose to fight them next. Asterisk. Fire in the stars, the galaxy had seen many wars. Empires had risen and fallen. Fleets had clashed in the void, and planets had burned. But never before had they seen war the way humans fought it. Precise, merciless, and final, the Zorath Empire. Once proud and unshakable, was now broken. Their fleets scattered, their capital in ruins, their emperor fallen, but still. Not all of them surrendered. Some commanders swore they would never kneel to humanity. They gathered what remained of their warships, desperate to strike back, even if it meant their end. Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her eyes sharp as she studied the star maps. Dozens of Zorath fleets still flickered across the displays. They were spread out, trying to regroup, trying to find strength in numbers. But Reyes knew better. "They are cornered," she said, her voice steady. "And cornered prey is the most dangerous." The humans did not rush blindly. They moved with patience. Their fleets cut across hyperspace like blades, peering where the Zorath least expected. Every strike was calculated. Every battle lasted minutes, not hours. Entire Zorath squadrons were destroyed before they could even form battle lines. Alien observers watched in silence. On neutral worlds, civilians gathered around holoscreens. They saw human warships move like shadows in firelight storms. They saw Zorath vessels burn, one after another, and they realized the truth. This was not war. It was a lesson. On one council world, a child asked her father, "Why do the humans fight like this?" And the father whispered, "Because they told us, child, they do not fight to play. They fight to win." But even as humanity pressed forward, the Zorath revealed their desperation. In a hidden system, they activated a weapon older than their empire itself. It was not aimed at Earth, nor at human fleets. It was aimed at colonies, small, fragile worlds where farmers, miners, and children lived. It was an act of cruelty, born from spite. The warning came too late. Admiral Reyes listened. To the desperate call across comms, "Unknown weapon detected. It's targeting the colonies." Her officers turned to her, their faces pale. Reyes clenched her fists. "They would burn innocents rather than face us." She said quietly. She gave the order. All fleets converge. Human ships broke. Formation, tearing through hyperspace with unmatched speed. The stars themselves seemed to blur as they pushed their engines beyond limits. For this was no longer about military targets. It was about protecting the heart of humanity. The Zorath weapon fired. A beam of pure destruction cut across space. It struck a colony world's outer atmosphere, burning half a continent to ash. Millions cried out, and silence followed. The galaxy trembled at the horror of it. A council demanded answers, and humanity gave them, in fire. The Resolute arrived first, leading the charge. Its cannons lit the darkness, striking the weapon platforms before they could fire again. Other human ships followed, tearing through defenses with ruthless precision. One by one, the Zorith weapon sights exploded, each blast lighting the void brighter than a sun. The night sky became fire. From the ground, colonists looked up and saw human fleets above. They saw ships shielding cities with their own hulls. They saw soldiers landing to fight hand to hand against Zorith raiders, and they cheered through tears. For humanity had not abandoned them. Not now, not ever. Back in the Zorith command ship, a desperate general shouted, "They are everywhere. How can they move so fast? How can they strike so perfectly?" Another answered with a whisper, "Because they do not play at war, they end it." By the time the battle ended, the Zorith weapon was nothing but wreckage. The stars above still burned with fire. The colonies were scarred but alive, and the galaxy had seen once more what the second rule meant. On the bridge of the Resolute, Reyes stood tall. Her voice was calm but sharp as steel. "Send the message," she said. Her officer nodded, transmitting her words across the stars. "This is humanity. We do not fight for half measures. We do not fight for glory. We fight to win, and we have won." The council chambers received the transmission in silence. No one dared laugh now. No one dared mock. The rules were carved into every mind. 2. Rules unbreakable, unstoppable, and humanity had followed them both. But in the shadows, rumors spread of another Zorith plan, a last act of desperation, a weapon hidden so deep, so dangerous, that even the council trembled at its mention. And as whispers spread, humanity prepared again. For the war was not over, and the stars would burn once more. Asterisk the price of breaking rules. The galaxy had thought. The war was finished. The Zorith Empire lay in ruins, their fleets shattered, their weapon destroyed. But pride is a dangerous thing, and pride still burned in the hearts of those who refused to surrender. From the ashes of defeat, a secret plan came to life. The Zorith had hidden one last arsenal, deep within a dying star system, buried in the eye. Heart of a red giant, shielded by storms of fire. There they built weapons never meant to exist. Doomsday cannons, planet breakers, engines of death. It was their final answer to humanity's rules. If they could not win, they would make the galaxy burn with them. But humanity was already watching. Spies whispered the truth. Listening posts tracked the movements. And soon, the shadows of Earth's. Fleets moved again. Admiral Reyes read the reports in silence. Her officers waited for her words. At last she spoke. "They have broken the rules again," she said. "They started war they cannot end, and now they aim their weapons at innocence." Her eyes were sharp, her voice cold. "Then we will show them the price." The fleets gathered, thousands of human warships cutting through the void. Every engine burned with quiet fury. Every soldier knew what was coming. For this was not just another battle. It was judgment. The Zorith launched their weapon. A beam of pure destruction tore across space. It struck a barren moon, and the moon shattered. Like glass, fragments scattered, glowing hot, drifting into the void, the galaxy shivered in horror. If such a weapon struck a world full of life, it would mean the end of millions. The humans did not hesitate. The Resolute led the charge, its cannons opening. Fire with ruthless precision, human fleets appeared like storms, cutting through the Zorith defenses. Their formation was perfect, their aim final. No wasted fire, no wasted motion. Every strike ended a ship, every volley silenced a weapon. Zorith screamed, their last fleets breaking under the assault. Commanders shouted for reinforcements that would never come. The Emperor's loyalists cried out for glory, but found only silence. For humanity gave no glory, only endings. On the surface of a fortress world, human soldiers advanced. The ground shook with explosions, the sky burned with fire. Zorath warriors fought desperately, claws slashing, blades striking, but the humans pressed forward. Step by step, their discipline unshakable, their mission clear, end the war. At the heart of the fortress lay the last weapon core, a device humming with unstable energy. If it fired, an entire star could collapse, thousands of lives across systems would vanish. Reyes ordered the final assault, her voice carried across every come. Destroy it now. And this, the soldiers charged. Gunfire lit the halls. Walls cracked. The ground trembled. One by one, the Zorath fell. The humans pushed through until they reached the core, and with one final strike, the weapon was destroyed. Its energy burst outwards, shaking the world. But the humans held the line. They stood firm as fire consumed the fortress, and when the smoke cleared, the weapon was nothing but ruins. The Zorath Empire was finished, their fleets gone, their weapons destroyed, their pride shattered. The few who survived fell to their knees. They begged not for mercy, but for survival, for they had learned too late. When you break the rules of war, you pay the price in blood. On the bridge of the Resolute, Admiral Reyes spoke softly. Her crew listened in silence. "Let this be known across the stars," she said. "Humanity does not start wars lightly, but when war comes, we fight. To the end." Her words were carried across the galaxy, and the message was clear. The price of breaking the rules was death. In the council chamber, Marcus Halle stood once more. The delegates bowed their heads, unable to meet his gaze. He did not shout. He did not boast. He only said, "The rules were never for us. They were always for you. And now you understand why." Silence followed. The galaxy finally knew what it meant to face humanity. They had mocked the rules once, but no one would ever mock them again. Asterisk. Why humans never break them. The galaxy was quiet. The fires of war had burned out, and the ruins of the Zorath Empire drifted like broken bones across the stars. Worlds that once feared the shadow of Zorath now stood free, but in every corner of the galaxy, one truth was whispered. It was not the Zorath who had ended the war. It was humanity. The council chambers no longer rang with laughter. No mocking words, no sneers at the young race. Instead, silence followed whenever the human ambassador entered. Marcus Howell walked through the great hall, his steps steady, his face unreadable. Delegates lowered their eyes, their voices hushed. Even the proudest empires now spoke with care. He stood before them, a great circle of light shining down. He did not bow. He did not raise his voice. He simply spoke. "You have seen the rules. You have seen what happens when they are broken." Images flashed across the chamber walls. The ruins of fleets, the shattered fortresses, the broken weapons of the Zorath. Worlds scarred by their greed, and worlds saved by human sacrifice. Every delegate stared, their faces pale, their claws, wings, and tendrils still. For these were not threats, they were truths. Admiral Reyes appeared by Hala beside him, her eyes sharp as steel. Her voice echoed across the chamber. "Humanity does not fight for conquest. We do not fight for glory. We fight because we must. And when we fight, we do not stop until it is over." Her words carried weight heavier than weapons. The council listened, and none dared interrupt. Marcus Hale's voice followed, quiet but final. "2 rules. That is all," he said. "Never start a war unless you are ready to end it. And if war comes, fight to win nothing less." He turned slowly, his gaze sweeping across every empire. "These rules are not chains upon us. They are shields for you." The chamber trembled with silence, for the council understood the meaning. The rules were not warnings for humans. They were warnings for everyone else. A promise carved into the stars, far beyond the council, across colonies and worlds. The story spread. Merchants whispered it in markets. Soldiers told it in barracks. Children repeated it in games. Two rules, always two rules, and humanity never breaks them. On frontier planets where settlers built homes. Under alien suns, the people looked to the skies with pride. They knew Earth's fleets watched over them, silent and strong. They knew the price had been paid in blood, but they were safe. Safe because their defenders never fought halfway. On alien worlds, rulers gathered their councils in secret. They spoke in whispers. What if humanity one day turns its gaze on us? But another would answer, they will not unless we force their hand. And so the fear lived on. Not the fear of human conquest, but the fear of what happened if the rules were broken. In the quiet of her flagship, Admiral Reyes stood alone. She looked out over the stars, her reflection shining in the glass. Her voice was soft, spoken only to herself. We do not fight for destruction. We fight so there is no next war. And in that silence, the stars seemed to listen. Marcus Halle, returning to Earth, walked along the old shores of his homeworld. Children ran by, their laughter echoing against the waves. He closed his eyes, feeling the wind, a galaxy would. Remember the war as a warning, but for him it was simple. The rules were not about power. They were about survival. And survival meant never breaking them. Generations later, long after the Zoreth were nothing more than history, the two rules lived on. Every human child learned them. Every alien remembered them. They were carved into treaties, whispered in academies, sung in stories around fires on distant worlds. Two rules of war. Never start a war unless you're ready to end it. And if war comes, fight to win nothing less. The galaxy never forgot them, because humanity never broke them, and that was why no one ever dared to test them again. Asterisk.